So the final talk in this session is going to be a remote one. It's a showcase from Babak Fakhamzadeh from a creative technologist, and he'll be talking about using rich modern technologies to deconstruct Dutch colonial myths in Brazil. So please welcome him on screen.
Thank you very much. I don't know, I hear my own echo, so I assume that you are hearing. Thanks. I'll start with a disclaimer like the second speaker did, and that is the following. If I sound a little bit incoherent, it's because I'm literally a third of a world away. It's 10 p.m. where I am here. So I'll try to do my best. Between the middle of 2024 and the middle of this year, I produced a piece which is called Sins Beneath the Equator, or in Portuguese, that is Pecados Abaixo de Equador. And we set out to deconstruct the Dutch colonial myths in Brazil. Now, the project for me started about 10 years ago. In 2015, I was visiting with my, well, not yet wife, but my partner, the town of Olinda, which is in the northeast of Brazil. It's very popular with tourists, and so we were tourists, but my wife is Brazilian, I'm not. But we were walking through the city, and we were admiring the facades of the buildings. We were not speaking. And as we were doing this, from around one of the corners of the building, a gentleman popped up and he started talking to us in Portuguese, and he was trying to sell his services as a tour guide. And one of the very first things that he said was, "Oh, if only the Dutch had stayed, Brazil would be so much better today." Now, you might hear it in my accent. My nationality is actually Dutch. So I looked at the guy and I was thinking, because it really is a complete nonsense, because as someone like many of the British knowing their own colonial history, I know what the Dutch did in Indonesia, where I am now, as well as in Suriname and other places around the world. So in 2024, I had the opportunity to get funding for this project, which was going to look at the Dutch colonial past in Brazil. And through the project, or with the project, what we did was we created 100 in Northeast, but also stories being situated in North America. What that looked like, because there's modern technologies, etc., is the interface for the application or for the platform is map-based, but all the stories, as I said, are location-based short podcasts, and they are available through a platform called Place Cloud, which connects these location-based podcasts with Google Street View, meaning that you can listen to the stories in situ, but you can also sit behind your own computer and walk through the place where the stories are about. So it's a nice gimmick. Now, we were a team of 4, including 2 journalists, of which one is also an editor, 1 historian, and myself to tie everything together. So we had some good capacity going, but we also had a limited budget, so we needed, if possible, to cut corners where we could without losing quality. And we did this on 4 fronts. They are listed on the right. We started with machine translations of the original stories that we wrote ourselves, and depending on who wrote them, they were either in English or in Portuguese. And so the first pass of the translations was done with were done through machine translations. We illustrated all the stories using Mid-Journey, besides also using original artwork, original images, photos and illustrations from that period. Well, not photos from the period, but photos of material from that period. To illustrate the stories, but also generate machine-generated images. We had about 10% of the audio generated by AI through a service called 11 Labs. And we used mostly ChatGPT, but also Gemini, I believe, to do scaffolding for stories, but also to do original research on some material, like ancient books that were available in PDFs. Now, all very nice, but what did we find? This is a bit of a showcase after all. We found that translations, the machine translations were superb as a start, but not good enough as the finished product. All the translations really needed to be reviewed by a native speaker to take out many of the weird or uncommon, not mistranslations, but weird translations. The illustrations, however, as artworks were perfectly suitable. The audio production was good enough, specifically for when listening to the audio in situ with headphones, with outside noise, competing for attention. It's really impossible to distinguish between machine-generated audio and real recorded audio. And the research and scaffolding of the texts was extremely useful because it saved huge amounts of time. But all the claims that the AI generated from the material that it studied needed to be verified by hand because the AIs regularly hallucinate and you don't know when they hallucinate. So everything needed to be verified. This then might sound that I'm a bit of an advocate for AI, but I'm absolutely not. I'm very critical of AI. And so I've listed this to be clear about that, but also for you guys to, if you don't already know, to get a bit of an idea as to why I think that AI is underpriced. Maybe you've seen that OpenAI in the third quarter of this year lost no less than $12 billion US. It's full of blatant copyright theft. Facebook is very good at that. There's excessive energy use, which is going to cause all sorts of problems over the next few years. Perhaps more importantly, the purveyors of AI, big tech, build an economy for the few, not the many. There's a bunch of reasons how that is exemplified. And that's where I'm going to leave it. If you're interested in seeing the material, it's, as I said, it's called Sins Beneath the Equator. The URL is there. The platform on which the audio is available, but it's also available on the website of Sins Beneath the Equator. The audio is hosted by PlaceCloud. Myself, I did the project. I produced the project as part of Walk, Listen, Create, which is an NGO for walking artists who use walking as an integral part of their artistic practice. The investigative journalism agency who put the rest of the team together, the journalist, the editor, and the historian, is called Marco Zero. They're based in Recife, which was the Dutch capital of Brazil during the 24 years that the north of Brazil was a colony. And my contact details are below. And that's where I'm going to leave it. Thank you very much for listening.